Penguin Random House presents Our Hindu Rashtra by Aakar Patel, read by Aakar Patel. Introduction. This book is about how India became majoritarian, privileging one community over others. It did so in a different way than its neighbors, but the result was as lethal to its society and its communities as was the majoritarianism of the nations around it. If we look at the modern history of South Asian nations, India stands out for its constitution. Alone in South Asia, India has not dabbled with constitutional majoritarianism. It did not officially privilege the rights of one community or privilege one religion over the others. This made it unique in the region that comprises Afghanistan, Pakistan, the Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and India. Of these nations, India is unique for wanting to be inclusive throughout its independent history. This wanting is best expressed through the Constitution, which is an aspirational document for any nation, but especially so in our part of the world, with its deprivation, poverty, and history of social violence. Constitutions represent a map of a better place we can reach from our present if we follow directions and guidance. The Indian Constitution has attempted to steer us away from the prevalent thinking around us and towards something higher, more universal. But the Bharatiya Janata Party, and especially since 2014 under Narendra Modi, appears to be pulling India in the opposite direction, away from this constitutional goal being aspired for and towards what we can call our lived reality. The facts of existence in India bear little resemblance to the values of the Constitution. Minorities are actively and regularly persecuted. Dissent is punished. The judiciary is unable to balance executive overreach. Freedoms are restricted, often to the point of being absent, and the state is vicious. It is a reality that is also reflected, truth be told, in the everyday actions of Indians themselves, as the violence and discrimination reported in our newspapers and TV channels daily testify. This pulling away has been achieved by the BJP through selectively emphasizing that which is divisive and keeps frozen the present and its antagonisms, and by using the current framework to push its communalism. This is in keeping with the manner of India's route to majoritarianism. India did not approach the brutalization of its minorities through constitutional change, but through existing law and policy and, above all, through the issues that parties and governments picked and stayed focused on till the majoritarian impact was achieved. It is clear as I finish writing this towards the end of 2020 that this impact has taken root and will be with us for a long time. We then owe it to ourselves to examine it honestly and to see how it is that we arrived here. Let's begin with nomenclature. The Hindutva ideology and its supporters and votaries are referred to as being right and right-wing. Is this accurate, and if so, what does it mean? The word right is used because of the seating arrangement in the early French Parliament. They sat to the right of the Assembly President's chair. This group of representatives, conservatives as they were known, were trying to preserve or conserve aspects of the monarchy and the social order. They were averse to change or innovation. Their opponents, who were Republicans insisting on reform rather than conservation, sat to the left of the president's chair. And so the terms right and left mean conservative as opposed to reformist or liberal. In American politics, the conservative seeks to preserve what she sees as Christian values and tradition from encroachment by the state. On such issues as gay rights and abortion, the American conservative seeks a halt to reform. This is social conservatism rather than political, and such a person seeking a halt to reform could be either a Democrat or a Republican, though for the last few decades she has been mostly Republican. British conservatism rose from its class system and the landed elite seeking to preserve the social order by supporting the monarchy, the church, and the empire. The political opposition to it is called labor because the working class's interests are fundamentally opposed to conservatism. They're seen as socialist because they push for greater state ownership over ownership by private interests that they feel shut out from. In time, the liberal and conservative ideologies have evolved and expanded but retained their essential differences. The question is, if we are to assume that Hindutva is an ideology of the right, what is it trying to conserve? Is it the social order? If so, which aspect of it? The caste system or something else? The answer is not clear according to the ideology's own texts, nor is it readily apparent when one observes Hindutva in action. While we shall explore what its objectives are, at first sight it appears to be the case that it is not trying to conserve anything. It is therefore not appropriate to refer to the ideology and its supporters and proponents as right. The word Hindutva implies something unique and distinct, and right-wing should not be incorrectly substituted or used as a synonym for Hindutva because it normalizes Hindutva majoritarianism and locates it wrongly. In the political language of our time, the word right has come to be associated with individual freedoms, a hawkish nationalism, a resistance to immigration, a focus on the military at the expense of other organs of the state and their capacities, and a determination to liberalize the economy. Here, it is not easy to separate the policies and outlook of India's two national political parties. On all these subjects, including immigration, both have followed similar trajectories and policies based on an institutional consensus. The right, as understood in the rest of the world, is vehemently against aspects of the welfare state, which it sees as handouts. But again, despite the rhetoric from some of his supporters when he came to power, even under Modi there was little difference in outlook or policies from the BJP on this front. We must therefore discard the word right and all its attendant meanings when we refer to Hindutva. Correspondingly, in India, the word liberal has come to be used as a slur. But all understand what it communicates: someone opposed to majoritarianism. Hindutva refers to such an attitude as appeasement, and to ethno-nationalism, which equates India and Indianness with only one set of citizens. Both sides agree that this is an acceptable definition. The problem of definition affects only Hindutva. There is a second difference that makes Hindutva politics distinct from that of the right. The BJP is not like the Republican Party or the Conservative Party in a distinct way. These are political groups that can shift away from adversarial positions against minorities because broad ideas and principles, and not a particular community, lie at the core of their belief system. This focus on principle over people means that Cuban Americans who are Hispanic immigrants often identify as Republican. The Republicans are seen by many opponents as racists, but they are also the party of Abraham Lincoln, who chose civil war over letting the South continue with slavery. The US's Democrats are seen as liberal and the party of Barack Obama, but they were also once the party that supported racial segregation in the South. The point is that on the question of race and identity, the outlook of those calling themselves Republican and conservative can evolve. Hindutva is, however, coded rigidly into the BJP. The party is inseparable from a fixed ideology, or to use a more appropriate word, a fixed prejudice, which is anti-minority and primarily anti-Muslim. That is why the supposedly right-wing BJP and Hindutva can dabble in what would otherwise be seen as socialism and handouts without internal resistance or discomfort. It can indulge in anti-libertarian economics, for instance through the Swadeshi Jagran Manch or Narendra Modi's own Atmanirbharta thrust, or effortlessly warm towards gay rights and change many of the other positions that it has held over the years. It has no core interest in any of these things that define ideology and political division in other.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?